Okay, sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
Me and technology are struggling. Zoom gave me all these new options, but the new options don't do what the old options did, even though
Oh,
they do different things. And so now I'm just confused. I'm utterly confused. So, all right, Taj, good morning.
good morning.
Your hair is different from when I saw you yesterday, right? I'm not making it up.
Well, I just put it up differently.
Oh, okay. I was like, I just saw you yesterday. All right. So we are listening to Jessica this morning, and she's going to talk about Neurospicy, I think, right?
Yeah, so it was interesting because I did a presentation for the Neuroverse Summit, and they wanted me to talk about neurodiverse people, sex and relationships, and so I did that, and we recorded that, and we are. I was supposed to have a session last night on Meetup, which did not happen due to technical issues on my part of not putting the link in. So I rescheduled it for next week at 7 o'clock on Thursday, the 26th. So if you're interested, it's free on Meetup. I'll be talking about that there as well. But after I did that, so I had that presentation, and then I also just recently presented at LPCA virtual conference with a friend of mine who is a hypnodom, so a hypno dominatrix. And we talked about finding identity through kink and are planning on a whole other presentation on neurodiverse and kink. So it's just very exciting. There's just lots of stuff going on.
It is very exciting. So tell me why neurodiversity and kink goes together. Like why,
Oh,
like,
there's
yeah.
so many ways. So one, when we're thinking of neurodiversity, one of the big ones, so one, we're looking at trauma because you can become neurodiverse based on trauma. One,
Mm-hmm.
ADHD is a big way,
Mm-hmm.
and then autism. So a lot of the things that neurodiversity has in common is basically a neurodiverse person's brain doesn't have as much of a filter as a neurotypical's brain to filter out sensory things. So there's a lot of sensory overwhelm, either getting in a lot of emotion, getting in a lot of visual input, getting in a lot of audio input, light, so viewing. So there's a lot of things going on there. Why kink and neurodivergence works really, really well together is one, there's so many things already in place in the kink community that facilitates neurodivergence. So one, when we're looking at a lot of kink, it's a lot of sensation play. So impact play, if we're playing with needles, if we're playing with like even like soft things like feathers and wax, and like there's a lot of things that engage the senses. And so I think it's really important to think of this as a way to explore how your senses can be beneficial versus harmful. And so that feels very validating and normalizing for people who have always struggled with their sensory input to then gain, oh, this feels amazing, or this is able to take me to a place that other people may not be able to go because they don't have as much sensory input. And then with Karma, she is a hypnodom. She self-identifies as having ADHD and autism. And so as a dominatrix, she uses several subservient people who are her subs as a dominatrix. Like she has one that just follows around behind her, picking up things when she goes into the house. So like wherever I dropped my keys, wherever I dropped my phone, wherever I took off my earrings, their job is to just pick up behind her. So
I
when
would
she
have lived that life so bad.
like, I am so jealous of you right now. And
Right.
so she's like, well, where's my phone? They were like, here it is, madam, and like they give her the phone. Like she has a sub that does household chores that loves serving her in this way of like doing dishes and cleaning out the basement. And I'm just like, maybe I need to become a dominatrix. I don't know.
Right. That sounds so heavenly. Yeah.
Amazing. But she is also autistic. And so when she is asking for a blanket to be folded in a particular way, that meets her needs of having it done in a specific way, but it also meets the sub's needs of being a picky dom of like, you're going to be punished if you don't do it in this exact way. So meeting those autism things. And then for subs, that are also autistic, having that clearly defined behavior and guardrails of like, I know exactly what's expected of me. I know exactly what is good and bad, and I don't have to interpret anything. And so a lot of that executive function that a lot of neurodivergent people suffer from can be alleviated if they are in a dom sub relationship, which kink facilitates. Also, BDSM has a negotiation period where you're negotiating what that looks like, which is not in neurotypical relationships, which I loathe with every piece of my body. Because it's having that like structure. It's knowing where your limits are, knowing whether or not there are any health issues that I should be concerned about, knowing what you need after sexual relations or after a scene to feel like, okay, like if somebody is neurodivergent, maybe sex is so overstimulating, like, don't touch me. Like, don't touch me. I don't want to cuddle. I need you to just pretend I don't exist for a little bit while I piece myself together, which is not a bad thing. And it's not that I don't want to be connected to my partner. It's just way overstimulated. And need to come down. And so I think kink just brings in a lot of those things. There's also a lot of research about it coming out right now. Like we found some articles that were just published like this year.
Wow. So I think the question is coming up for me, which I'm sure is coming up for people in our audience. And then Jessica and Taj, I'll let you guys chime in with questions that you have. I think somebody will be thinking like, why would you want to submit to being in somebody's house and just picking up stuff after them? Like who does that and why would they want to do that? And my answer to that is BDSM relationships or power dynamics or whatever you want to call them. There's a security in knowing exactly what I need to do. There's a safety in that. And the ability to negotiate and write things out and have a contract feels so secure to some people. And so a lot of us are just operating in relationships that just kind of haphazardly happen and nothing is ever talked about or spelled out or anything. And so having a contract, having a place where I can go and I don't have to make any decisions, where I can just be, somebody will tell me what to do, I can do it, and then they'll be happy with me at the end of the day. Like, we laugh at people who sometimes like stay in school forever because they like being able to turn in work and like being able to get an A on it. Like life doesn't really give you those things at times. And so sometimes those relationships give us that security and give us that reassurance. So I asked and answered my own question, but I'll give it over to Jessica and Taj. What's coming up for you guys as we talk about this topic?
Well, this is new information for me. And I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD. So I actually was listening as more of a client instead of a clinician today. I was just thinking about my own relationship and how my ADHD has shown up in my sex life with my husband and, how that's happened. So yeah, I have to switch back to a clinician. So I'm gonna let Jessica talk.
Okay, well, before I give it to you, Jessica, I don't think we've talked really good about how ADHD shows up in a sex life. So we need to put that on the agenda. And I know we definitely haven't talked, but I remember writing an article on it one time of how anxiety can impact a sex life. Like anxiety about your body, anxiety about I've had a couple of clients over the years who felt like they had a body odor. And so that's definitely going to impact the sex life and just all the myriad things. But okay, Jessica, what's coming up for you? Addison.
Being that I mostly work with a polyamorous clientele, so everything is really non-traditional. I've had clients to where when they have that conversation of what are the roles in the relationship, they base these roles off of where they are mentally in their journey. I have a lot of clients who their partners know each other. And sometimes those check-ins and those submissions are accountability in areas where they are on their own mental journey. So they take that into consideration as well. And also when we were talking, I was thinking about something I read in Mating in Captivity, a novel by Esther Perel, about some people like the anchor in the wave, to where the anchor where they feel secure, like I'm with someone who I trust, I can let go and know I'm not going to do any destructive things that's going to put me in a uncomfortable position, for lack of a better words. But I also have that wave and the spontaneity of I can be free, I can let go and not be judged, and I'm in a safe space. So a lot of times they can't get that in society. A lot of times they can't get that with their primary partner. That's why some people choose to be polyamorous and have non-traditional relationships. So just being yourself is a freedom that is better said than done, and it might sound really basic, but it's very complex, and a lot of people really do need that.
Yeah. These are such exciting times. Like, I love right now that we are at a period in culture where people can really choose what works best for them and go find it. And so I just love that culture right now is giving an amount of sexual freedom that I feel like we haven't had before. People are no longer locked in boxes. So if I need to figure out a power dynamic relationship because that's going to make me feel best, or if I need to explore a non-traditional relationship because that's going to make me feel best, I love that people can do that right now. And I love that we're here to support them. So, okay, what else is coming up? Jessica, what else you got for us? Renard.
Yeah. So one of the things that I also talked about kind of while you were talking about like the sub-dom relationship is the way Karma described it, which she's fascinating, and hearing her talk. We're also planning on putting these in for Frolicon as well. So shout out to Frolicon in May. But being able as a dom to also put in self-care rules for their subs. And so when there are issues of, well, I don't know if I did that right, you don't get to decide. I decide, I'm your dom, you did that right, let it go. Like, don't. Right. Like, can you imagine one of those things that, like, when you are going over with that anxiety in your mind of like, well, I don't know. Yes, you did. I'm in charge of you. No more. You don't get to beat yourself up. Or have you eaten recently? Or have you slept? Or have you taken your medicine today? Because you will be punished if you haven't done these things. So that, and kind of with Taj, the ADHD, I know I've had several clients and also friends, because I also identify as neurodivergent, probably ADHD and autism. I'm still working on an official diagnosis, but of like when they're in sex, that they're like, I can't focus. Like, I can't, like, my brain's going all over the place. And so at the Neuroverse Summit, they were asking, like, how can I orgasm when I can't stay in one spot mentally? And it's directing all of that thought to your body. It's how do I feel? What are the temperatures? What are the pressures? Like, what am I smelling? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? And realizing that sometimes with neurodiversity, we need more intense sensations to keep us present, to where we're not thinking about our grocery list, that so more firmer grips or more restrictive movements, to where I am now thinking about, like, I can't move my arms, or someone's pinning me down, or I'm in a position like that is more intense, so that I'm able to stay present and in my body.
Oh my gosh, there's a TV show, I think it's called Billions. And in the first episode, one of the couples on the show, the wife has the husband tied up. And then he's totally still not into sex. And she's like, we're specifically doing this so that you will stay present. And so it's very interesting, because he's like a lawyer or something. It's just hard for him to stay present during sex. And so I just love that it would seem like they've done the extreme, but they also found something that works for them. And so it's really interesting. So it's like, we're doing this. I have you all tied up and you still aren't able to stay present. And it's hard for a lot of people. And I don't think we talk about that enough, how hard it is for people to just kind of stay present during sex. And and even building the skills to stay present, like just building the skills and doing that work. So, okay, what else is coming up? This is such a great
I thought
conversation.
of something
Mm-hmm.
because just Jessica talking about not being able to focus just has been my life. But this is how I know I'm in the right field, because even when I don't know I'm doing clinical things, I do clinical things. Because I started doing that, grounding myself in the moment so that my brain would stop thinking about what I'm going to cook for dinner tomorrow. You know? But I also wanted to mention another thing that I learned worked for me is if I drown my senses in sexy. Like I have a light that will dim to red or like an orange, candles lit. I'll have music playing. I have to have
all the things,
multiple things to keep me in this sexy room, in this sexy space. So my thoughts tend to center around sexy. And that's all I want to say.
We should do an episode about that, because so many couples, the bedroom is not set up for sexy. It's not set up for sex, especially if you have small kids. And I get it, because I got clothes on my bed right now that need to be folded. I get it. And I moved them off and moved them to the side so I could sleep. And that's not right. And so I think it is important to have intentionality around our spaces. And so if we want it to be a sexy space, do the things to make it a sexy space. And I understand that's going to take a little extra work. That means that we're folding clothes on the couch instead of the bed, or maybe we have to create a whole new space for that, if we even have the space for that, but just doing things a little differently so that we can have sexy be sexy. So, okay. What else?
So
I think
yeah, go ahead, Jessica. I was waiting, but I didn't wait long enough. You're good.
You're fine. I was thinking a lot of times people with autism, they like a routine to where if something is going to change, they need to know right then and there because they're so used to it. So being what you said about the bedroom not always being a sexy place, I always tell my clients, I don't either have autism or not. I'm not a person to think sex should be limited to the bedroom. I don't care if you go in the living room. I don't care if you're bent over in the bathroom counter. I don't care. To where if something is happening or your partner wants to like make a move or what have you, you're not like, no, this is not our area. We have to go here. This is our sexy time. To really let yourself go and not think what's going on. Let me get my body together. Then we're over analyzing or we're spectating, as we say, to where we're the only person who is on the chopping block and we're the only ones who's judging us. And that can allow us to stay in the moment and know, okay, it's sexy time. Let me do all the tips and tricks and things I need to do to get in this mode and stay present in this moment.
Thank you. That's so good. Okay. I'm not going to say anything. All right, Jessica Renard.
Well, and just to kind of piggyback off of Jessica Addison's comment, like also understanding that if your partner does struggle with changes or rapid things, that if they are rebuffing you because you're wanting to have sex in the bathroom, realize that this is not anything to do with you. It has everything to do with we need to give them a certain amount of time to process that before to like, hey, I would love to explore having sex in every place, every room of our house. I want you to process that and let me know how that feels for you, what you need in each of those spaces. And so then it's like, okay, I can create a plan. I can think about what I need for those things.
Yes.
And it's not just like spontaneous bathroom. Like I am literally trying to go to the bathroom. What are you doing? Because I'm so out of that mode because and then nope, I'm shutting down. Like I can't, like door is closed. And then also what I had kind of mentioned in the beginning of trauma, I work with a lot of clients that have sexual assault pasts. And so them getting into BDSM is pretty common because it's a way for them to engineer scenes where they're taking back their power. Either have consensual non-consent scenes or like what it would be like quasi rape scenes, but these are negotiated ahead of time. There's a safe word in place. There's a procedure in place. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly how many people are involved. I know exactly what the pattern of things are. The person that is doing this knows my limits, knows the hard boundaries.
That's good.
And if I say the safe word at a moment, it all stops.
Yes.
And so
That's
being
good.
able to do that, to work through some of those issues that you had with that sexual assault, to take your power back and take ownership of your body and your sexuality can be incredibly powerful.
Because really what it is exposure therapy, right? It's just exposure therapy. And so that's just so exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jessica, what do your clients come in saying? Like, what's the issues that initially bring them into practice, service, needing counseling? What do you think?
For like, that feels like a really big question that's hard for me to break down. When I think of like sexual assault, oftentimes I'm the one that brings up kink or BDSM. And if I'm working with a couple, whoever it is that has the sexual assault, they're like, yep, I've actually talked about with my friends, but I was afraid to bring it up to my spouse, or I was afraid to bring it up to my partner. And they're like, yep, totally on your wavelength. And the other partner is like, seriously? But like, you don't even want to do this. And it's like, I don't want casual vanilla sex because right now that feels really scary and dangerous. Whereas consensual non-consent doesn't feel dangerous. It like, I feel like I am more prepared for that because maybe that's what I've been exposed to more or more recently or made more of an impact. And so it's then also working with the partners of like, you are not hurting them. You are not putting them through this trauma again. You are not a perpetrator, even though you are cast in that role in this particular scenario. So it's working through like, they're needing this and wanting to experience this. Are you okay with this? Knowing that they are okay with this. You're not re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's things that people don't say that I have to like bring up of like, okay, what about this? And they're like, actually, yeah.
I just love that because that is clinical intuition. Like that is you operating in your craft. And so I just love when y'all are operating in your craft. I think what I want to say now, what I want people to know is there is no normal. There is no one right way up the mountain of healing. There is no perfect way of doing things. And so if you are struggling, if something isn't feeling right with you, come in, talk to us, and we will help you figure out, okay, how do we put something together to get you from point A to point B or wherever you want to be? Like you don't have to figure this out alone. You don't have to just be locked in your head of thinking about all of these scenarios. Like we can talk about them out loud and work you through them. And I just don't want people out there feeling ashamed. Like I don't want you feeling shamed or guilty or I'm weird or I'm broken. And because all of this is like fixable and doable and handleable. Okay. All right. Jessica Addison, what's coming up for you?
When Jessica Renard was talking about taking power back, sometimes that foreplay of getting that power back is sometimes just enough for them to where when it comes to the sex part, the penetration, that's the scary part. So in working with someone and being comfortable, sometimes it does not always lead to penetration. Sometimes they like the foreplay of getting the power back. So where when they feel comfortable, it's like a slow process that we have to be patient in working with them with. So that just came up for me.
Okay. All right. Taj, what's coming up for you?
I'm excited to learn more about this. That's where I am. I love that a lot of the training and techniques that we use for anxiety, that we use for treating, I guess,
non-sexual issues.
Yes,
for sexual issues.
And things that we would employ with neurotypical people would still transfer. Just with a few little moderations and tweaks. And I love that because what you just said, like nothing is normal. Nothing is normal. But a lot of our interventions are so well done that they transfer. And I appreciate that about the field.
Okay. Jessica Renard, we're going to give you for last thoughts before we end for the day.
Ask questions, like talk about with your friends of what they're experiencing and what you're experiencing, and like realize that things are a whole lot more normal than you think they are. And that one of the biggest things that I think is a benefit to the BDSM or kink environment is the lack of shame and blame that they bring to a lot of sexual practices. Like there's a common phrase, don't yuck somebody's yum. If it's enjoyable for them and you're not interested, don't watch, don't participate. You don't have to be there. And so it's understanding how your needs can be met and other people's can be met, and they could be different needs, and both are okay.
Yeah. All right. Jessica Renard, would you also give us the name of your talk and the time and place in which we can attend?
Yeah, so it's going to be on Meetup. Again, I apologize for the people that wanted to come last night and I just didn't get it together, but it's going to be on Meetup. So meetup.com on Dating 101 Masterclass, I think is our group. The actual class is called Neurospicy Sex and Relationships. It is at 7:00 on Thursday, September 26th. So online, it's free. Feel free to join. I'll be looking at like definitions of neurotypical, some content creators that I found that are really helpful. The difference between someone who is neurotypical and in a relationship with neurodivergent, and then if two neurodivergent people are in a relationship together, because both of those, they need to be navigated, like understanding that they're going to be a little bit different. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay, great. All right, then, ladies, thank you guys so much for showing up today. I really appreciate you. And I just hope this talk helps somebody. Like, I just really do. So, and thank you guys for giving your time so that somebody can be helped out there. I appreciate it. All right, y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.